Machiavelli's Scarcity Law. How to make yourself truly in demand.
Listen carefully.
There is a moment in every person's life when they finally realize this truth. You were not overlooked because you lacked talent. You were overlooked because you were too available. In a world that pretends to celebrate abundance, humans are wired to crave what is scarce. And the person who understands that law, the person who masters it, becomes untouchable, desired, respected, pursued. Tonight, I will show you how to make yourself truly in demand, ethically, using the timeless power Machiavelli understood better than anyone. Breathe. Settle in. Let's begin. There is a force in human psychology, older than kingdoms, older than empires, older than language itself. A force that decides who rises, who falls, who gets chosen, who gets ignored, who gets respected, and who becomes replaceable. That force is scarcity. Not the scarcity of money, not the scarcity of opportunities, but the scarcity of you. Machiavelli observed this in the courts of Florence. Those who were always available, who said yes to everything, who appeared at every request, every event, every demand, were never valued. Why? Because when something is always there, the human mind stops noticing it, stops appreciating it, stops respecting it. But the individuals who mastered presence, who came in rare moments, who spoke only when their words had weight, who offered value selectively, who carried themselves with measured distance, became the most sought-after people in the entire city-state. This was no accident. It was not luck. It was psychology. It was power. It was strategy. And you can learn to do the same. Every day, with every action, you are teaching the world what you are worth. If you say yes to everything, you teach them you have no boundaries. If you respond instantly, you teach them your time is cheap. If you chase, you teach them you can be ignored. If you accept disrespect, you teach them they can freely give it. And if you constantly show up without purpose, you teach them that your presence requires no effort, so it deserves no reward. This is the first principle of Machiavelli's law of scarcity. People value what is difficult to access. This applies to personal life, professional life, leadership, your career, and even your identity. People do not value the worker who is always desperate for approval, the friend who never sets boundaries, the employee who says, "I can do anything, please just give me a chance," the person who floods the world with their availability. They value the person whose presence feels intentional, deliberate, measurable. The person who understands that power is not in showing up everywhere, but in choosing when to show up. Scarcity is not disappearance. Scarcity is controlled presence. Now, let's go deeper. Because to become truly in demand, you must understand the psychology behind desire. Humans are not logical. They are not rational. They are not consistent.
Humans are emotional machines designed to chase what feels rare and ignore what feels abundant. If a skill is rare, companies pay for it. If a person is rare, people respect them. If an opportunity is rare, people fight for it. If a voice is rare, people listen closely. If a presence is rare, people remember it. This is why Machiavelli wrote, "Men esteem most what is most withdrawn from them." Think about that. Read it again, slowly. Men esteem most what is most withdrawn from them. When something is always available, the brain relaxes. It stops assigning value. It stops assigning meaning. It stops assigning importance. But when something is limited, restricted, rare, and selective, the brain activates the systems of desire, curiosity, respect, aspiration, fear of loss. You become something the world is afraid to lose. And in business, this is the difference between a replaceable employee and a sought-after professional. Before we go deeper, take a moment and make sure you're part of this journey. Subscribe to White Side of Black Coded, because here we don't just talk about success. We decode the silent forces that shape it. Every week, I reveal the hidden psychology behind wealth, power, and human behavior. Truths most people will never hear in their lifetime. Let's dive in. But scarcity is not about acting distant. It's about becoming someone who is worth the chase. So let's go deeper into your value. To become in demand ethically, you must understand a second principle. Not all of you should be available. Your time is not infinite. Your talent is not infinite. Your energy is not infinite. When you give these away without thought, people will always take without thought. In your personal life, this looks like people taking advantage of your kindness. In your professional life, this looks like managers giving you more work, but never giving you more respect. In your career, this looks like you becoming the reliable one instead of the valuable one. Reliability is good, but scarcity elevates reliability into reverence. If you do everything, your work becomes invisible. But if you choose your contributions carefully, your work becomes unforgettable. This is why elite professionals thrive. They don't do everything. They do the right things. They don't say yes to every request. They say yes selectively, with intention, with clarity, and with power. Scarcity makes your contribution shine. But to apply scarcity correctly, you need control. Control over yourself and control over your impulses. You cannot become in demand if your emotions control you. People who react instantly, people who speak too fast, people who try to prove themselves, people who cannot sit with silence, people who fear being misunderstood are always manipulated, always underestimated, always undervalued. Scarcity starts with emotional containment. When you slow down, others must adjust to your tempo. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. When you refuse to explain yourself excessively, your confidence becomes palpable. When you stop rushing, others begin to chase your pace. This is the paradox Machiavelli understood.
Power moves slowly. Weakness moves quickly. Slow breathing, slow speaking, slow decisions, slow reactions. This is not laziness. This is psychological warfare. Scarcity multiplies your presence because people can sense that you do not need their validation. That is power, and power is attractive. Now we enter the career domain. To become in demand, you must cultivate something the world does not have enough of. Scarcity of skill creates abundance of opportunity. If your skill is common, you will beg for opportunities. You will chase jobs. You will be replaced easily. But if your skill is rare, opportunities chase you. Companies compete for you. Pay rises naturally, respect follows. Your goal is not to be skilled. Your goal is to be scarce.
Identify what few people can do. Identify what few people understand. Identify what few people master. Then, become that. Slowly, deliberately, consistently. The world does not reward effort. The world rewards rare value, and rare value comes from scarcity of skill. But scarcity alone is not enough. You must learn to display it without appearing arrogant. This is the art. Scarcity is not rudeness. Scarcity is not coldness. Scarcity is not superiority. Scarcity is intentionality. You do not appear everywhere. You appear where it matters. You do not give your time easily. You give it when it is meaningful. You do not respond instantly. You respond when you have clarity. You do not chase approval. You hold your center. Here is the formula. Be warm, be kind, be helpful, be present, but not too present. Offer value, but selectively. Help others, but with boundaries. This makes you inspirational, not irritating. Strategic, not manipulative. Admired, not ignored. In the workplace, leaders who overshare, leaders who over-explain, leaders who overgive, leaders who over-accommodate are not respected. They are consumed. The most powerful leaders carry a subtle distance, not emotional coldness, not ego, just composure. Their value is felt because it is not overused. A leader who is always available cannot be taken seriously. A leader who sets boundaries becomes someone others adjust around. Scarcity creates hierarchy, ethically, silently, naturally. People treat you exactly how you treat yourself. If you give yourself away easily, your time, your energy, your emotions, others will take you for granted.
If you hold yourself with dignity, without arrogance, without insecurity, others rise to your standard. Scarcity is the language of self-worth. When you value yourself, you become valuable to others. Sometimes, to increase value, you must step back, not permanently, not emotionally, but strategically. Absence is a psychological amplifier. When you remove your presence, even briefly, people begin to feel the gap you once filled. They pay attention, they recalibrate, they wonder, why are they not here? What changed? Have I underestimated them? What are they focusing on? What are they becoming? Machiavelli understood this. Presence creates familiarity, but absence creates power. Scarcity shines only when paired with quiet strength. You do not need to shout. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to convince. Quiet power is the strongest power. The person who knows their value does not fear losing attention. They fear losing integrity. That is the difference between the common and the rare. Now that we have explored the psychological, emotional, professional, and strategic components of scarcity, let's bring it all together. To become truly in demand, ethically and powerfully, 1. Master yourself before you master your environment. Emotional control creates scarcity. 2. Build a rare skill. Scarcity of skill creates demand. 3. Be selective with your time. Scarcity of presence creates respect. 4. Speak with intention. Scarcity of words creates authority. 5. Set boundaries. Scarcity of access creates value. 6. Move at your own pace. Scarcity of reaction creates dominance. 7. Improve continuously. Scarcity of complacency creates growth.
Scarcity is not manipulation. Scarcity is self-respect. Scarcity is power. Scarcity is clarity. Scarcity reminds the world that your value is not infinite. Your time is not infinite. Your energy is not infinite. You are not replaceable unless you act like you are. And so here you are, standing at the edge of a truth most people will never understand. You were never meant to be everywhere. You were never meant to please everyone. You were never meant to be constantly available. You were meant to be specific, focused, purposeful, rare. When you reclaim your scarcity, you reclaim your value. When you reclaim your value, you reclaim your power. And when you reclaim your power, the world adjusts. People listen. Opportunities open. Respect deepens. Your presence becomes felt. Your absence becomes noticed. Your name becomes remembered. You become truly in demand. Not because you manipulated the world, but because you mastered yourself. This is Machiavelli's law of scarcity. And tonight, you have learned how to use it to transform your life and your career, slowly, ethically, strategically, and powerfully.